Mr. Smith, being an apprentice is just a joke, right?
The younger head chef looked at me with suspicious eyes and asked that. Could it be they think I can't even do the work of an apprentice? But a few days later, unexpected developments awaited me when I was summoned by the boss. My name is Mike Smith. I turned 50 this year, but due to some circumstances, I had to switch jobs. I found work at a luxury hotel's restaurant. I'm working there as an apprentice chef. To even hire an old guy like me, I should be grateful.
Hey old man, clean this up.
Colleagues laughing and carelessly placing dishes around. They are younger than me and are promising apprentice chefs. Even among apprentice chefs, they are nothing like me in my 50s. My main tasks are washing dishes and taking out the trash. They help with cooking and push the grunt work onto me. I can't help but sigh, thinking this might be my life till the end. It's my own doing, so I can't complain. Then one day, the former head chef retired, and a new one was assigned.
Nice to meet you, I'm James. I appreciate your kindness.
The new head chef, who greets with an expressionless face. Mr. James was scouted by the boss from another diner. Though young, he's top-notch, and most of us working at other joints know of him. He's incredibly talented. However, with his mechanical-like lack of emotion and precision in his dishes, some folks jokingly wonder, is he a robot on the inside? But Mr. James quickly fit right in the kitchen, and before long, he shone as a dependable head chef. There's a world of difference between him and someone like me, who's always stuck washing dishes and taking out the trash. He probably doesn't even remember my name. I couldn't help but feel down on myself. Comparing a bright young man like him to an old guy in his 50s who can only do chores. The more I compared, the worse I felt. A few months after Mr. James started working, a valued guest of the boss was set to visit the hotel. The restaurant decided to serve a special course meal that wasn't usually on the menu.
We need everyone's cooperation. Thank you.
Mr. James gave a deep bow, and the staff nodded in firm agreement. United, the staff began to prepare the special dishes. Even though Mr. James is an exceptional chef, he always looks out for his staff and never acts superior. Because of his demeanor, the staff can work wholeheartedly. My job, as always, was just taking out the trash and washing the dishes, but I tried to do it more carefully and swiftly than usual. And then, the dishes were finally ready. All that was left was to replicate it for the real deal. Mr. James even said, "This is the best dish I've ever made." But on the day, when Mr. James tasted the sauce, his usually calm face tensed up.
This isn't the same sauce. It tastes different.
Even though it was made according to the usual procedure, it tasted different. The staff began to taste it one after another. The seasoned chefs agreed, indeed, but the trainees were puzzled. One of the staff said,
"It tastes good too. Is this not acceptable?"
No, it's not. If it's not that sauce, the whole dish is ruined.
"Why does it taste different?" Mr. James and the chefs began discussing, trying this and that. I tasted the sauce too, and is it the salt? I had tasted the special course when it was finalized, and indeed, the flavor was totally different. It's just a hunch, but I think the salt used is different. But why? We're using the same salt, so why does it taste so different? Did the arrangement of the seasoning change? As I tilted my head, I felt a piercing gaze. Mr. James was staring intently at me, and he said,
Mr. Smith, what did you just say?
Did he remember my name? I thought, a bit taken aback. I was saying, maybe the salt is different.
Salt?
He opened the container with the salt and tasted a pinch.
Indeed, it does taste different.
Then I said, maybe it's the humidity. It has been raining for the past few days. I shared my theory with Mr. James, who quickly gave instructions to another staff member.
Get a fresh batch of salt, and quickly.
Yes, sir.
Then, he quickly adjusted the sauce and tasted it again. When he let me taste it, It tasted just like what I had the other day.
All right, serve it to the customers.
Yes, sir.
Somehow, we managed to serve it in time and all the staff sighed in relief.
Mr. Smith, thank you.
Oh, glad I could help.
I'd like to talk to you later.
With that, he went back to his station. I returned to washing dishes. I wondered what he wanted to talk about. I was feeling a bit uneasy. After finishing my work, I headed to Mr. James' office.
Mr. Smith, you're not really an apprentice, are you?
When I looked at Mr. James' face, I couldn't read his emotions. Could he possibly think I'm incapable even for an apprentice's job?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to blame you.
Seeing the color drain from my face, Mr. James denied while he waving his hand.
About today, how did you figure out it was the salt?
I've always had a sensitive palate.
I see.
Mr. James seemed to ponder for a moment.
Sorry to bother you after a long day. You can go home now. Thanks for today.
He gave a respectful nod. I bowed my head in return and left. After that, I hadn't heard from Mr. James for a while, and I assumed he was just curious that day. But then,
Mr. Smith.
yes, sir. I was completely off guard, so a weird voice slipped out. Given my clueless response, Mr. James didn't laugh, but just shared the matter at hand.
The boss wants to see you. Come with me.
Huh. Why does the boss want to see me? Could it be I'm so incompetent that I'm getting fired? If I lose this job, I won't be able to make ends meet. Nervously, I head to the boss's office.
Hey, glad you could make it. Have a seat.
I was greeted by a smiling boss and, although a bit taken aback, I obediently complied.
I've heard about you from Mr. James. You did a great job.
Oh, no, not at all.
Anyway, I was curious about you and did some digging. You used to work at a famous restaurant in France, right?
I froze at the boss's words. And at the same time, the trauma I had sealed inside me resurfaces. Just as the boss said, I used to be the head chef in a restaurant in France. That restaurant was pretty famous, with many celebrities frequenting. I was recognized for my skills in such a restaurant, but racism is still deeply rooted in France, and I became a target.
Can we really eat food made by such a savage?
A customer shouted in anger, throwing the dish onto the floor. Not everyone in France thinks this way, but there are many who share the customer's sentiment. Soon, the issue escalated, online reviews were vandalized, and bad rumors spread. It didn't stop there. Rocks were thrown at the restaurant, dead animals were left, and the harassment only intensified. And eventually, the restaurant was forced to shut down.
It was my mistake hiring you as the head chef.
The owner I had trusted gave me a resentful glare, and my spirit was completely shattered. I gave up my path as a chef and returned from France. After that, I worked various part-time jobs back home, but I couldn't stay away from the world of cooking. I returned as an apprentice chef. Even after having my heart broken so much, even after having my pride as a chef shattered, I want to be involved in cooking all my life. That's why I'm here now. Upon hearing my story, Mr. James showed a surprised expression, breaking his usual poker face.
I never knew you worked at that restaurant. I've been there once. The dishes were truly amazing.
The boss nods in agreement.
Having someone as skilled as you as an apprentice is a loss for our hotel. Knowing about your painful past, would you use your culinary skills for our hotel?
The boss said, looking straight into my eyes. I shifted my gaze to Mr. James next to me, and he also earnestly requested,
Please, show us those wonderful dishes once more. I'll do anything you need.
I could strongly feel the sincere emotions of the boss and Mr. James. In France, I lost my confidence. I was devastated, thinking my cooking skills were just that. But, in doing so, there was someone who truly craved my cooking. Knowing this, I felt an overwhelming joy, almost to the point of tears. If you're okay with someone like me. With those words, the boss's face brightened instantly, grabbing my hand tightly. Even Mr. James, who rarely showed emotion, had a soft smile on his face. Seeing both of their genuinely happy expressions, I couldn't help but smile too. Afterwards, I was promoted to the position of sous chef. This was an unusual promotion from a mere kitchen apprentice, and many around were taken aback. Even after Mr. James explained my background, the majority remained skeptical.
So, you'll believe in his skills once you see them, right?
At Mr. James' request, I served my dishes to the skeptical staff. Their doubtful faces, up until the moment they tasted my cooking, but with just one bite, those expressions transformed into sheer astonishment.
Wow, this is great.
Overhearing their genuine praise, I couldn't help but pump my fist in triumph. Having had my pride shattered in France, seeing their delicious expressions gradually restored my confidence. And eventually, all the staff accepted my position as the sous chef. Those junior chefs who had belittled me apologized right away.
We're truly sorry.
It was clear they genuinely acknowledged my skills and were sincerely apologetic. So, with a smile, I reconciled with them. Now, they're reliable colleagues I can count on. Then, on a day when I was showcasing my skills as the sous chef, it was decided to open a separate restaurant branch outside the hotel, and I was chosen as the head chef there. Our restaurant had a great reputation, but with the overwhelming reservations, it became hard to serve many guests. Hence, the reason for the branch. I was all in. I took a few of my trusty staff with me and started to whip up dishes at the branch. Currently, Mr. James and I are buddies who always push each other to be better, kind of like rivals. I said, me, a rival, that's big talk. But Mr. James, looking dead serious, replied, aren't we? Thanks to that, everyone started to recognize us as official rivals, and it's quite humbling. Moving forward, I want to keep working hard for this restaurant with my loyal crew and my rival,